Alright guys, it's been a little while, but today we're going back to our value for money tier list and we're going to be taking a look at the Desert Eagles. We got a couple of new Deagles added into the game with the updates over the last week, which means they can also be added into consideration, which is really nice. And before I get into it, I really have to stress, this is value for money. This is not rating them strictly on visuals. The price point will massively factor into where it places on the tier list. Now, it's at this point, I'm going to turn my face cam off so you can see the entire tier list. We have 6 tiers, S down to F. I've restricted it. I don't want as many tiers as we had before. I want to really force myself to pick and choose. And I'll have this link down below, so if you guys want to, you can get involved and jump into the Discord and let me know what your value for money tier list is like. Today, so first up, we have the Mulberry. This is one of the newest ones added to the game, which means it's a little hard to place because it can't actually be bought or sold yet. It's currently listed on a third-party site with a trade hold on it for $53.21 in minimal wear. I think this is going to actually become a very reasonably priced skin, so I'm going to rank it with that in mind. Now, if you're wondering, all these prices are from the 5th of April. For me, I'm going to say for now, this is a B tier skin. I think it's definitely going to go down to like a $10 mark. If it goes even lower, then maybe it can jump into A tier. Then we have the Meteorite. Now, I actually preferred this a few months back before they updated it because it used to have a bit of a green hint on it. The only plus side here is it's $1.71 and you get it in factory new, so it's not really going to break the bank. But overall, I don't love this as a skin. Now, with the price in mind, I'm going to drop it into like the upper end of C tier. Next up is the Bronze. Now, for me, straight away, this is like a D tier skin. The price point on this is almost $5. And let's be real, it doesn't look that good at all, so it's not worth that money. As I say, for me, although it's under $5, it's so visually bad, I think it has to be D tier. Now, the knife for me is one I would have previously shit on quite a lot. It comes in just under $18 in minimal wear, but with the right knife and glove combination and the right theme, this can look the part. However, the Mulberry, for example, went into B tier because I think the price is going to come down and be lower than what the knight is, so I'm going to kind of have to base my ranking off of that. And of course, I should have mentioned at the start, there's going to be some personal bias coming in here, but I'll try not to have that sway things too much. For now, I'm going to put it in C tier near the top, just because I do think the Mulberry looks much better and should be cheaper. Now, this is the first of 2 Sunset Storms. I'm actually going to do the other one after this. This is the one that doesn't have the little weird face on it, but you know what? Either way, that doesn't matter because they're both stupidly expensive for what they are. This is a $350 skin, and for me, it doesn't look all that. So, unfortunately, I think we might have our first F tier skin. And then for me, the other one looks even worse because when you inspect it, you'll see it has this little, like, just weird face chilling at the bottom of it. And I don't know why there's 2 of almost the identical skin added to the game and one just has a little dude's face on it. Like, I don't get that from Valve. So, once again, F tier. And it's going to plop right in there behind the other one because the other one is better. Then we're on to the sort of more reasonable prices with the mecha industry. This is a $6.50 skin, so you're not going to break the bank at all. And it doesn't look too bad, if we're being honest. This is definitely one of those higher tier value for money options. And honestly, I think it has to be A tier. When you're talking like $6.50, minimal wear, clean looking pattern, I think it's probably fair. The Desert Eagle Naga is kind of an interesting one. It is very basic. I think the artwork along the top with like sort of like the alien vibe is kind of cool. Obviously, I went on train for lighting. I don't know if that's the best play, but we're here now and I'm going to do it for consistency. It does come in at $2.80 for minimal, which hurts a little bit in my opinion. I think, unfortunately, it ends up in the same sort of category as the Meteorite. Now, I am trying to push my biases to the side. We have the Pilot here. Minimal wear, this is almost $100. Now, this is a nice skin. I like the silver and the gold, but for the price you're paying, it's really, really hard to justify, in my opinion. So much so, torn between C and D. For now, it's going to go into C. And we have our first S tier value for money skin. It is going to be the Desert Eagle Tilted. Minimal wear, this costs you 40 cents. So incredibly cheap. It's a really nice color of blue. It's on the new model. It's got these kind of like bronze accent colors on it, and it's got different design all over. This is perfect. So it is very deserving of that S tier spot. Now, I'm not going to be able to claim that the Oxide Blaze is S tier. What I'm going to say, actually, you can see already the skins where the artwork is better because even though Train's Lighting exists, you can see the Oxide Blaze really well here. So for a 33-cent skin that, regardless of the lighting, you're going to see the artwork is going to look good. And you know what? It's basically a budget Blaze. Come on. I think it's hard to say it's not an A tier, like, value for money skin. Now, the blue ply is very similarly priced to the Oxide Blaze. This is actually 35 cent in minimal wear. However, I think this is where my personal bias, but I do hope others would agree with me, is I think this doesn't look as good as the Oxide Blaze. The Oxide Blaze is like pretty clean, whereas there's something about this wood design that just looks off to me. It's because of that I'm going to drop it down from A into the B tier. The Code Red will sting you $33 for minimal wear, but red Deagles are a little bit sort of lacking in options if we're going to be honest. And just to know, I am going to mix between minimal wear and factory new here. You can technically buy this in field test and get a bit more value for money, but I thought we'd be consistent with the minimal wear. For me, this definitely looks better than the Knight. It is double the price, but I think you are getting double the design. So for that, it's going to go low B, high C. Maybe the actual first hot take. We have the Desert Eagle Starcade here. This is an $81 skin in minimal wear. It has a lot of colour on it. It's very vibrant. It's got a glitter effect. It's on the new model. And honestly, I think this is an incredible Desert Eagle. But for $80, how high up the tier list can it actually go? At the $80 mark, I think it struggles to crack A tier. If it does, it would be on the lower end. But I think it's fair to say this is in B tier. Like, when you look at a $33 Code Red, you pay just over double to get to the Starcade. I think it's worth it. Then, we have the Midnight Storm. Now, the Sunset Storm wishes it could have value for money like this. I appreciate it's the rarities in the collection, and that sometimes changes the issue. But Midnight Storm, just over $30 for minimal wear. It is this really nice shade of blue. It's got a nice pattern on it, and if you get it in factory new, it gets rid of most of the scratches. Very, very nice skin. Now, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, damn, I put the Code Red in B tier, same price, Midnight Storm. I'm torn between high B, low A. If we're being real, the Golden Koi is nothing like it used to be in CSGO. It looks pretty poor in CS2, and it still comes with almost a $130 price point, which is a little bit annoying. Honestly, it's definitely D tier value. It might even be F tier, if I'm being honest. I have always oddly had a bit of a soft spot for the Urban Rubble. I think it's because there's definitely like purpley grey tones in here, which means it isn't actually a bad option to pick up. And if you get it in factory new, it can be pretty clean for $1.30. So because of the price point and the fact it doesn't look absolutely ugly, it's definitely going to climb the ranks a little bit. For me, it's definitely ahead of these Meteorite and the Naga. It's not quite as good as like what the Oxide Blaze offers at like $1 more. I think it's fair to slot this into B tier with like the blue ply. And obviously some of these may change by the time we finish the video and could fully compare. So a minimal wear heat treat is going to cost you $3.70. But if I'm being real, actually this one doesn't look that good, but there's probably more blue on this than a $3.70 would get you. For me, this looks pretty ugly, pretty lackluster, and to get any heat treated that's good at all, it has such high overpay, it's really hard to justify. So, I'm sorry guys, it's going to be going down the ranks. To the extent that I think it's D tier value for money, for how poor it can look. So we mentioned the Code Red already. This is the Crimson Web. This is like the other red Desert Eagle that we had for the longest time in comparison. Very similar pricing, $34 for minimal wear. And it looks a bit, I don't know. There's just something about it doesn't scream to me. Maybe that's just my lack of preference towards the Red Desert Eagles, but I think the scratches as well coming through on it. It sits in a kind of awkward place. I would say the Code Red's a little bit better, so that drops the Crimson Web into the C tier. I am really starting to doubt if we're going to get another Deagle skin to go into S tier, but here we have the Cali Graffiti. This one for me gives the same sort of vibe as the Oxide Blaze, and its new model. It's this sort of like silvery brown with wooden handle, bit of graffiti on it. I am personally a big fan of this skin, and that might be where some people will put it into B. I'm actually going to put it into A. And if you asked me, like a few months ago, for the Night Heist opinion, I would have really put it low. I was not a big fan of it, but after looking at it more in game, giving it some thought, this is a factory new Desert Eagle, comes in under $17, and it is purple with little bits of blue and sort of pink markings throughout it. So when you compare that and you think about what you could build with it, it isn't actually that bad of an offering. And it's part of this. I'm really thinking that maybe there's a world where A tier, B tier. I'm going to go B for now, and I think both it and the Midnight Storm might find themselves jumping into A tier at the end of the video. You've seen me shit on the Sunset Storm, you've seen me shit on the Golden Coil, and now we have the Emerald Yermangander, one of the most expensive, I think it's actually the second most expensive Desert Eagle we're going to look at. This is $408 for factory new. You need to get a factory new so it looks clean, and the price just keeps going up, but for my bias side, it's a green skin. I love it. It's the only real green Desert Eagle we have. It's got the North mythology behind it. Fantastic. It's from that collection. Great. The issue is the price. But the thing here is, it actually looks good, and it's actually a sought-after skin that people want to use. It's for that reason that it can't go anywhere near F tier. And really, because of the price, it can't go to C tier. it has to be D tier. The only thing that would jump this and a justification to C tier is the fact that it is kind of the only green Desert Eagle. I wanted to say maybe we find something to join the Tilted in S tier, but I'm not sure the light rail does that. It's $1.40. Minimal wear. It has that nice sort of gradient phasing from the yellow into the orange. It's got like nice 3D mapping on it. But really, if you're using this in-game, and I have for a while myself actually while cashing out, it doesn't stand out as much as the Tilted. But given its price and its looks, I think it's fair to be in this A tier value for money. And this is where I sort of showcase that cheap doesn't necessarily mean good value for money overall. This is the Mudder. It's 13-cent minimal wear. If you're running like Diamondback gloves and you have sand dunes and stuff like that, there's a world this fits the theme. Overall though, it's just not that great. But if you need a cheap Desert Eagle, there you got one. I think with its price, it's hard to put it like into D tier. It's going to be low C. The Conspiracy is a very, very good Desert Eagle. For me, you have to get a factory new, which is going to cost you $9.50. With that, it is a nice, basically clean all black with a very, very light yellow accent on it, and it has great craft potential. However, I would like it to be closer to $5. Which leaves me really torn between where it deserves to go. Here we go. I finally got another one I can shit on. It's going to be the Hypnotic, $91 in factory new. Granted, it does look a bit better than the MP9, but this is going to be in that exact same vibe as the Golden Coil for me, even though it looks a little bit better. Which means we're watching it go right into the D tier. Where I was able to say lots of good things about the Urban Rubble, I kind of lose that on the Urban DD Pack because it costs almost $3, which for this type of skin, it's really hard to justify even spending that. Like, you could buy the Tilted, the Calligraphy, and maybe like another Desert Eagle for the same price. And like, there is kind of like this buffer of what it's worth. I mean, I do have the bronze in there. It looks better than the bronze. I'm going to go low C. If you wanted a bronze Desert Eagle, the actual bronze deco is better than the bronze, and it also only costs 35 cents. And it gets actually some nice lighting, as you can see there. A little bit of light like to flash it off it. So I actually don't mind this as like a value for money budget Desert Eagle that gets a little bit of shine, and I'm sure you can do some good budget crafts on this as well. 35 cent factory new, a bit of flare and shine. I think it's deserving of A tier right now. It is skins like the Cobalt Disruption that are making me think if I'm like a bit uncertain on my S tier branding, because this is it costs $78, right? It's not a cheap Desert Eagle, but its upgrade in CS2 lighting was fantastic. It is looking very mean, very shiny in the right light, and for blue loadouts, it can do the part. But I think this gives me the reflection that I need. For me, I think we need to move the Night Heist and the Midnight Storm into B tier, and then we need to put the Cobalt Disruption and move the Starcade up on the B tier side of things. Here's the other new Desert Eagle look at it. It is the Mint Fan. Obviously, this one is very hard to put a proper tier on it because it's saying $6.62, but it can't be traded for another couple of days, which means we don't actually know its accurate pricing, and it is actually probably going to become quite cheap. When I first seen it, I got excited that we might have another Green Deagle, but unfortunately, we don't really. For me, it doesn't actually look anywhere near as good as the Mulberry, so I'm going to drop it in C tier for now. Please, there's a big asterisk on this, because if this comes under $1, then there's maybe a world we could say possibly B tier. And there we have the Directive, a nice budget blue Desert Eagle that actually has nice mapping on it, a little bit of black, and a little red accent color. It comes in at $1.60 for minimal wear, and might be the first time we actually have a competitor here for can it join the S tier with the Tilted. But ultimately, I feel like it might just be that little bit too high of price. This next one, I'm going to get a little bit ahead of myself, I'm not going to lie. We're going to have the Serpent Strike. This currently is a $12.96 skin in factory new, which, if you consider the fact that Lad, what are you doing? When you consider that the Mulberry was coming in at $53 without being able to be sold, and this is $12.96 without being able to be sold, this is definitely going to become like a $5 and under skin, in my opinion, not financial advice, and it looks very, very good. Now, I am happy to be proven wrong in this. I am going to preemptively put this as an S tier value for money weapon skin because I believe it will get to $5 or so. It's in the Fever case, just if you weren't aware, it's brand new. But when you look at the rarity, it's coming in as restricted. And if you go to the gallery, which is the only other case that had a drop system like this, and you look at the restricted, so look at this. Factory new this is, under $5, under $3. under $3, just over $3, and under $3. I think gauging this as going to be under $5 and an S tier value for money is actually incredibly fair. When I started playing Counter-Strike again almost 3 years ago, I was a big fan of the trigger discipline. A couple of people sort of spoke bad about it and it put me off it for a little bit, but every time I revisit it, $1.40 in minimal wear, it's clean, it's pink, and it's cyan. Two colors that typically come with a premium, and it's pattern based. Man, how is this not S tier? I was getting worried as we were going we wouldn't get S tier skins, but here we go. We managed to get 3 of them. Once again, we got a good example. I think that gives me my weight as to why I think the Starcade and the Midnight Storm and skins like that deserve to be a bit higher, even though they're that bit more expensive. This costs almost $40 for a minimal wear Ocean Drive, and for me, it's very nice and vibrant, right? Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of colors, but I've tried to use this twice in loadouts myself and instantly wanted to sell it. There's just something about it that isn't that great, and I think that's why it's going to be a C tier skin for me for value for money. We actually have some expensive ones left. The first of which is going to be the hand cannon. Now, to be very clear, I'm taking the souvenir pricing for this because you can scrape the stickers if you want it to look normal, or you can keep the stickers for that extra sort of color and shine. And it would cost you $303 in minimal wear. Now, this is not worth that price at all. However, I do visually like the skin. But $300 for that, I think, unfortunately, has to be F tier value for money. At that point, I know it's $100, but for that extra $100, I'd rather have the Emerald Jurmengander, or I'd rather like take the hit and buy a Starcade and a Cobalt Disruption and still have an extra $150 in my pocket. As I mentioned near the start, I didn't really touch any field tested skins, and ultimately I maybe could have done that with the likes of the Prince Stream to save a little bit of money, but $50 for minimal wear for a skin that ultimately its only issue, if you want to sort of pin one, is that the pearlescent doesn't look as good as it did in CSGO, but craft potential here is amazing. It always looks good in game, and it always catches an eye. With that said, the Starcade for an extra $30 I think offers better value for money, but I do think is worth paying more to get this over the Crimson Web, and it's worth it more than the Ocean Drive, which means it's going to have to be a B tier option. Back-to-back skins that maybe I should have gone for field tested to really maximize the value, but I like the shine you get on the Fennec Fox and how bright it looks in the minimal wear. Like, that looks incredible. This is another one that I'm going to suggest you go for the souvenir version to save some money, and it gets it down to $250 for minimal wear, which is a lot more palatable. Now, this is where I'm going to drop this into an interesting category. I think the value for money compared to the hand cannon is much, much better. I think compared to the Emerald Jurmengander, which is $150 more, it's better. I'd rather pay double for this than what I get for the Golden Coil and the Hypnotic, which is why I think it's in the low end of C tier. Out of the 42 Desert Eagle skins, we have 5 more to go. The first one is the Kamicho Dragon, coming in at just under that $23 mark in minimal wear. You do get a purple base on it, and I would like the normal one, please. There we go. Purple base, silver top, lots of dragon markings across the board. This is a very unique and 50-50 love-hate skin in my opinion, but if you like it, you can cook with it. And you know what? I think for me, probably B tier. For those bronzy brown enjoyers, the Corinthian is maybe a winner for you guys. It comes in at 32 cents for minimal wear, and it holds up really nicely. This with a pair of Jade gloves, for example, I always love suggesting. Personally, however, I do prefer the likes of the Oxide and the Calligraffiti, which means very bottom of A tier, probably. The Sputnik for $2.50 might surprise you in my opinion. It's factory new, it's the new model, it's a pattern-based skin, and honestly, it can look surprisingly good. Which is why, I think, I might need to review my A tier, but I think that's A tier. Second and last one is the Heirloom. This is one I picked up myself, and I wanted to try and craft on. I wanted to do good things with it. Unfortunately, overall, there's just not enough going on it. It's basically a default vanilla Desert Eagle with some very small gold accents on it, and you're paying $6.50. It's with that in mind, it's better than the bronze, still, to be fair, and better than the heat treated, but it's C tier. And you know what? I wish I could say that I purposely left this piece of shit to the end. It has somehow randomly become the last on the list, and I can end it on the note that I think this is an overrated, horrible Desert Eagle. I always make the joke that it looks like a t-shirt someone would have worn in the early 2000s, and if it was like $10, I could get behind it, but nearly $700 for this, the way it was market manipulated in price, honestly, with this fake hype behind it, and just the price you pay for a skin that looks so mediocre, low-key pisses me off a little bit. Which means it's going to top the chart on F tier. Now, I can just about fit everything in on this screen here for the tier list. Now, I'm going to do a little review and we'll come back. Right, you know what? I'm actually quite happy with this. I went through, I've looked at it, and I think the only things that maybe there's debates around is could the Cobalt Disruption move into A and could the Starcade move into A tier? But overall, for a value for money, and I know people are going to comment it either way at some point saying that I've done an awful take and they've not realized it's value for money, but it is value for money. Which means, as much as I love the Emerald Jörmungandr, it is D value for money. I love the Fennec Fox. It's C value for money. But the Tilted, the new Serpent Strike, which has asterisks on it because it's currently a bit more expensive than it should be, but it should come down to under $5 and be fantastic. And the Trigger Discipline are my S tier value for money Desert Eagles. Now, that is us completing the tier list. As I mentioned, I'll have the link down below so you guys can get involved with this. You can let me know, in the comments if you think I'm absolutely cooked and some things you would change here. But if you want to show me your absolute full tier list, the link's down below. Join the Discord and send it in. And I'm really interested to see if you guys are even close to being on the same page as me, or if we're so massively different. I see that one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. The tier lists are always a bit longer, but I'm going to be doing these weekly again for a little while. So hopefully you enjoy it. We'll catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.